Hi, my name is Hannah. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to talk about some of these books that I have read the past week. I read a short nonfiction book that was really good. I read a short fiction book that was really good. And I read two fiction books that were very different and yet somewhat similar. So let's just jump into the books. The first book that I want to talk about was a recommendation from Nixreads, and so I will make sure to link her channel down below. And I picked up Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? And Other Questions About Dead Bodies by Caitlin Doughty. I had read last year the book Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Other Lessons from the Crematory, and that was part memoir, part an explanation of what happens after you die, and I thought that it was really impactful. It really made me look at my life and my future death and the lives and deaths of people around me and how I can connect with that better and what to prepare for. And I thought that that was a really great book. Really enjoyed that one. So picking up another one by the same author, I was very excited. And this one did not disappoint in that it was still very interesting and still very good, but it is a different kind of book. So this is answering your weird questions about death. So questions that a kid would ask, will my cat eat my eyeballs? And how deep do I need to bury my pet? It was a fun time. I'm glad I picked it up. Was it something deep that revolutionized how I think about death? No, not really. But if you just want to learn some interesting facts about what happens after you die, what happens to your body, I think this was really interesting and really a fun time. And it's short. If you aren't too squeamish about death, I think that this book can be very interesting and very informative. This next book is a short book that was recommended by Melinda at A Web of Stories, so I will make sure to link her channel down below. And I picked up Address Unknown by Katherine Cressman Taylor. And I had never heard of this book, and I can't believe I've never heard of this book until now. It was incredible. This was a 5-star fiction read, and it is short. So if you want a book that you can read in a quick sitting, pick this up. I highly recommend. So let me explain what it's about. This is a series of letters, and they're fictional, between a Jewish art dealer living in San Francisco and his business partner who has moved back to Germany. And this is taking place right before World War II, and it shows the rise of the Nazi Party. Some of what makes this book so incredible is that it was written in 1938, and it was published and banned in Nazi Germany. The impact of seeing a person's views become radicalized in a regime and what that can mean for a friendship, it was really powerful. And I think that it is amazing that this book came out when it did. I think it calls light to a very important thing in a timely manner, but I think it also held up well for current day to see how somebody that you thought maybe had strong ideals a certain way can quickly fall into a rabbit hole of a particular political ideology. And so I thought this was very interesting, very well crafted, and 100% worth picking up. If you want a book that has things to discuss, things to think about, a big impact, but a small amount of time that you're gonna have to put into it, this is it. Now, this next book was a recommendation from Caitlin over at Bandy's Books, so I will make sure to link her channel down below. This is a book about the friendship of two girls in the French countryside. They grow up poor in the wake of a horrible war. We have our main character, Agnès, and her best friend, Fabienne, always is coming up with the best games for them to play. And the game that she decides on when they're maybe 13 is that they're going to write a book. And this book, it ends up getting published, and it throws Agnès into a world of fame and fortune that she's not really ready for. This book dealt with some very interesting themes about friendship and loss and fame and life. I think that there were some interesting themes that you could delve into reading this book, but the tone really was different for me. It had kind of a detached what is the meaning of life kind of feel. And usually I don't know if that would work for me because I really want to feel a very strong connection to these characters. And I think these characters felt detached from their own lives. They didn't really see what the purpose was. Things were a game instead of real life. Our best friend Fabienne here in the book is not always taking things seriously. And I think that in that detachment, it felt relatable. Instead of making me feel apart from the characters, I related to their feelings of, does any of this matter? Is this real? And I thought that kind of worked. I was surprised, and I thought that the relationship between these two friends was very interesting and very true to life. That strong, intense relationship that they need each other, that they are so close to each other. It borders on obsession, and it maybe has tones of romance, but also it's also real life, those strong, intense childhood friendships, and maybe how they don't last. And so I think that that was a very interesting look. I don't know, there were lots of things that I ended up kind of liking about this. This book made me think. There were times I wasn't super sure about this book, but by the end, I think it actually kind of worked for me. I thought this was pretty good, so I'm glad I picked it up. I don't know if I would give a blanket recommendation to everybody on this one, but it worked for me, and I'm glad that I picked it up. So this next book was a recommendation from the channel Books with Tofucado, and I will make sure to link her channel down below. I picked up Chlorine by Jade Song. This is about a girl who is on the swim team. Swimming is her life, but she longs to be a mermaid. It follows her and her best friend and their relationship, and also her longing to be a mermaid, right? So it talks a lot about swim team, a lot about swim meets, and also the difficult parts of being a woman in this world, from sexism, racism, homophobia, all the things, and how she wants to escape this by becoming a mermaid, right? So it has elements of a romance between her and her best friend. It has elements of horror and body horror. It has elements of fantasy, but maybe it's not. It's very open-ended. And so some of it was very interesting, but overall, I just don't know if it was very effective for me, right? Like, I read it and at points I was just bored. I honestly thought about quitting this one, and then I only had it checked out and I was bored and I needed something to finish. So I finished this one, but I just don't know if it really worked for me. I wasn't quite sure if what happened really gave me any answers or anything deep to think about, other than the world sometimes is a messed up place and she wants to escape and be a mermaid. I think that was the entirety of what I got out of it, and I didn't get, any deeper messages that I'm sure it was trying to give me some, but I don't know. I got bored in parts of it, and for something that is kind of horror and she's turning into a mermaid, I wanted it to be a little more engaging. I can see where the author wanted to go with this. I just don't know if the execution really pulled it off in a way that made it compelling or said anything new about the subjects it was trying to portray. So this one, kind of like a 2-star for me. And that is what I have read the past week or so. If you have read any of these books and have thoughts on them, please leave them down in the comments below, and I will see you all on the next one.